Be quick, huh?
Convene a special meeting here at the Administrative Boardroom. At this time, I'm going to call in our co-chair to get us to our Pledge of Allegiance started.
First, I'll ask Reverend Godwin if he would lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we truly thank you, even in the middle of this day with this nice sunshine and this weather, and we just say thank you for being so good. Thank you for your faithfulness and endurance. We thank you, Lord, for the day which we bring wisdom and knowledge, understanding, and ask it from you, that you guide, direct, for all good things come from thee. Now bless us as we go through this meeting, Lord, what our eyes to see, our ears to hear, that is always pleasing to you. We just thank you for what you're doing and how you do it, because you're always good. Now we give you praise and grace to your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pope, for that. Now, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Please raise hand. Motion so carries. All right, moving right along to item 1. Looks like presenter Mark Smith. You're up, brother. You are the first thing on the agenda today.
This should be easy because we're not here asking for any money. So, any questions they have about the proposed contract with New Grove.
Okay.
Of course, you know, we've been providing the service for Newton Grove since they hadn't had a police department for some time. And we think it'd be in our best interest to have a contract and continue providing that service. Of course, there's no cost to the county with that. The benefit is the town gets the coverage they're requesting. They'll pay the off-duty staff for a third-party company to do so, and there's no added personnel cost.
Is this different than the contract that the county has with the town of Roseboro?
Roseboro actually contracts with the county to hire full-time personnel. This would be a part-time, as needed basis off-duty.
Yes, Craig Warren, okay. And this is what y'all are in favor, y'all want this done that way. Okay. All right. I'll take a recommendation as a motion to approve this.
I so moved on the motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Motion so carried.
Thanks.
How you like that?
Thank you.
All right.
That quick enough? Okay.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, item 2, we're gonna start our budget workshop. And I know you got something we're gonna talk about at the end, but I'm gonna let you start off with anything you got and introduce what you need to.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and board members. I'd just like to ask all of the education personnel that would like to take a seat up here with us together, community college, the superintendents from both schools, and anyone else that you'd have with you. If we'll certainly do our best to make room to squeeze everybody in up here. I see you, sir. So just to give you a quick highlight, just in the same fashion that our budget team and the manager met with the various department heads, we did the same thing with the education folks. And what we did, the bulk of that meeting, they shared various concerns that they had. They particularly brought forth their capital improvement plans for 5 years and in some cases beyond. And I certainly appreciated them doing so. As you can imagine, there's, just like we have in various departments and throughout the county with, the competing priorities, if you will. As you can imagine, there's plenty on the list that it's very difficult to get those items as far as having the resources to handle that. But they did impress some of the more urgent things as they see it on their list. And so with that said, though, you have seen that we did provide the recommended budget to the board. Of course, in the community college's case, I shared with you, he had provided his actual requested budget as well, and had also provided that to you. So I know that last year when interim director or interim manager Jeff Hudson was here, the format that was used was similar to today, where all of them came around the table to be able to have frank discussion with you and share any concerns they have, as well as various maybe impacts and challenges they foresee in the horizon and things like that. So just thought we would, resume with that same type of format, because it seemed to work well. So that's really kind of the general idea there, Mr. Chairman, and I would just turn it over to any of these gentlemen or ladies here of, just where we'd like to kick it off.
Yeah, I started last year.
All right. I tell you what I'm gonna do. It's right in order. It says Clinton City Schools. You're up, brother. How you like that? That quick enough?
Sounds great.
I figured you could handle it when it
Yeah, we got it. Well, first and foremost, we want to thank all of you for the work that you do to prepare the budget for our county. We know we have a lot of need and a lot of square miles to cover here in Sampson County, and you all do an excellent job of meeting the needs of our people in the community that we're called to serve. We want to give a special thanks to our county manager, Van, for his work and his team's work in preparing this budget. Honestly, a lot of the work for Dr. King and I have pretty much been, erased for the budget that we put in place last year because of the formula that was put in place. And we want to thank you all for thinking through that. Of course, as has been noted, there are some unique challenges that are facing school districts with just some unknowns when it comes to things like federal funding. Even though that looks like it's going to be pretty flat for next year, I think we're expecting about the same that we have seen. Dr. King has sent me some start numbers that he's kind of facing, but for Clinton City, we're pretty flat with funding for next year from the feds and from the state. Clinton City being one of the few districts in North Carolina that has seen an influx or increase in ADM numbers over the last several years. So that has helped us to maneuver through some of these downtimes. Of course, any superintendent that gets in front of any county commissioner is going to talk about the need for a budget. We do need an approved state budget. I think there is a framework is the word that they're using between the House and the Senate. So we hope that those conversations continue and that the framework doesn't fall apart. We know that that could happen, but I think it is time for our state to have a budget and for our teachers to get a needed raise that they all need. And it's good to hear that it does look like the minimum raise for our teachers will be a 5.5% if that holds up. So we're hopeful for that. On the local level, Mr. Logan put together a 5-year capital plan that was presented and shared with County Manager Van and his team. Of course, when you're talking about facilities that are continuing to age, you're going to have a lot of needs. We do want to thank, again, you all for your work in assisting us to get some additional funding for our roof. At Sampson Middle School, Phase A of the roof. John is having conversations. That work will begin next week, John, or the week after?
June 8th is the proposed start.
June 8th, and so we're very thankful for the assistance that you've helped us with to be able to start that roof project. And we're hopeful that we'll hear back from NCDPI on Phase 2, which will be the right side of the building. Phase 1 is the entire left side of the building. And so we're hopeful that we're going to hear back from the DPI momentarily. Let's hope. It's been a little bit of time since we've submitted that. Got anything to highlight from the capital outlay?
No, I'll just reiterate, as you're well aware, with a lot of school buildings and municipal buildings, there's just been a lot of deferred capital over the years, just out of the nature of budgeting. And
the things we've been able to accomplish. We appreciate your support for. I'll tout again that we continue to read reports that our county is 96th in ability to fund, but ranked in the top 5 or so of willingness to fund education. And again, I appreciate your efforts to make that work for public schools in our county.
So I guess we would ask if you have any questions we've got our board chair, so let me thank Dr. Brunson, our board chair, and Ms. Carol Worley, our vice chair, for their attendance this afternoon. And at this time, we'll take any questions that any of you may have.
They all look good. I like this. That must be a very positive for you then, so. But I do think that the way we're funding it goes a long ways in helping everyone right now with what we're doing, so. And I appreciate y'all using the money wisely and doing the things that need to be done for our kids. That's the biggest thing. And I back at y'all. We applaud you for what y'all do. Y'all do a lot for the next generation of what's coming in Sampson County. It's a big deal to me. I always have been. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to applaud your efforts, the board as well. Just the partnership with everyone. Obviously, the funding formula was put in place when Jeff Hudson was here last year, and I'm thankful for that because it helps to clarify, in a lot of ways it makes it easier to, it's right, black and white. So, and to know that, the seriousness of wanting to take care of that. So, thank you.
All right. Sampson County Schools, you're up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us. So like Dr. Johnson said, we put together 5-year facilities, looked at our buildings. We all know that the big thing that we're focused on right now is the new Hopkins High School. That went out to bid last week. Got bids back on Wednesday. I don't remember what day last week. Monday. We're at second bidding now, any that we didn't get 3 bids for, and those are due this Thursday. So by this Thursday, really Friday, we should have a pretty good idea of the cost. I'll say so far, we're looking really good in costs.
All right.
We're looking like we're going to come in with a little extra. Right, knock on wood. Now there's still about $13 million out to be bid. So still a large chunk, but even if it comes in at budget, we'll still be in the good a little bit. So, not to do everything we want, but that's always positive, right? When bids are coming in better than what we expected, especially with increased fuel costs and everything else. That was a big concern I know that we addressed. So information there. I think our big concern at Sampson County Schools currently, Dr. Johnson talked about the state budget, but our concern comes with when that state budget is passed, the increases in salaries, right? And so we have a number of maintenance staff, right? We have some teachers, or there are a few number of teachers that are paid out of local funds, right? Well, when the state increases the salary of employees, it increases it for every employee, not just state paid. And so I worry, have a slight concern that if the state's going to do a 5.5% increase, there's not a 5.5% increase on y'all's budget to us, right, to pay for those salaries. So we have a small concern there, just when the state ends up, if they ever approve a budget, what that looks like and how it affects us with our local positions, especially operations, all come out of local funds. So every maintenance, custodian, all of those things come out of local funds. There's just not additional funding when the state increases salary. So we're a little concerned about that. Just want to share that. But again, like Dr. Johnson said, we appreciate all of your work, all of your efforts on this. The funding formula makes it a little easier to kind of budget and know where we're at because it's easy for us to kind of see what that percentage is. So for your work, I'm being glad to answer any questions if there are any.
No good. The only thing I got is when we get to the 5.5, we'll worry about that later. I'm like you, I'm ready to see it, and we'll figure something out. Well, we always have. So, thank y'all.
Just following, this is going to impact you guys down the road too. Just be mindful of the legislature's work on capping property tax and everything else moving forward. That's going to further there could be some issues with the school committee.
Commissioner Pope, one thing that, when you said that, it came to my mind, and I'm sure Jamie will support this discussion. I also want y'all to be aware of some politics that are being played in regards to funding with what they have traditionally funded as allotment positions and trying to change that into cash positions. So I think I'm speaking for Jamie, but we would be much in favor of keeping allotments. So if you're having conversations with state legislators, make sure that they continue that we want to be funded for allotment positions, teacher allotments, and not just cash. Okay. Because if you have just cash, then what the games that we have to play, Dr. King and myself, are to try to find the cheapest teacher for that position and not the best teacher for that position. Best teacher could be a 28-year veteran, it could be a year one person. But if you're getting just cash and not allotments, you have to do what's best for your budget. So again, we would prefer allotments instead of cash. So that really doesn't have anything to do with you all, but I did want to just mention that when that came up, because there's some politics being played over cash and teacher allotments. Jamie, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think, so just for an example, right, the state gives us it's called 001, right, it's with the budget code. Let's say, Dr. Johnson, we get 500 teachers, right? The conversation is trading that 500 teachers into a cash number. And the issue, to Dr. Johnson's point, is once you spend that cash, you may only be able to hire 450 teachers because your teachers are more expensive, right? They have more years of service, right? And so that's something just for everybody to know as citizens, that there's a lot of talk in Raleigh about changing that because it would save the state funds, right? But it would really hurt almost, I think it's 98% of the school districts. I think there's like 6 school districts that it would actually make it better for them. But everybody else, it would be a negative. So it's a huge concern for all of us.
Thank y'all for that. Thank you. Y'all good? All right. You ready?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a number of trustees here with us, and
that's scary, you have to be honest.
It is. And I want you to take note of our Chair, Lorinda Haig, and our Vice Chair, Chuck Spells, with us. Dr. Paul Visor's in the back row. Clay Strickland is over here, and Donna Bullard. So thank y'all. If I missed anyone, Sandra Carroll, she's behind the west end. I'm sorry. No, I spoke to her earlier. So thank y'all for coming, and thank you for lending your support. Sampson Technical Institute began in the 1960s as a result of J.T. Denning's ask and his hiring of James Earl Vann as the first president of Sampson Technical Institute, and it is from that beginning that we sit here today. Our service area is assigned to be Sampson County. There are 100 counties, as we all know, 58 community colleges. So a lot of community colleges have multiple county service districts. Arguably, if you are not in the home county of that particular institution, your service and access is a little bit less. So we sit here today as a county that has a strategic advantage because you have your own community college here in Sampson County. I don't know that that could be done again. So we owe a debt of gratitude to the county schools and to Mr. Denning and those that served with him to create the community college. We are designed to be your partners in economic development. And I say this with support for my brethren here with the public schools. We are not a public school. It's interesting in listening to Dr. Johnson's conversation about funding for positions where we're actually funded completely on a cash basis, not by positions. So that you fear is that we operate under. There's a set amount of cash, and you have to go out under the funding formula, and you have to go out and contract with your faculty. Do you have a copy of the local budget, Kelly?
I think he said he provided it.
Did you provide that?
Yeah.
When you look at that, I just want, and Kelly's going to go through that briefly in just a minute. What you're looking at is essentially, with the exception of a supplement for the president, that is all plant operations and maintenance. You're not funding supplements for teachers, you're not funding programs. That is simply all about the operation, maintenance, and upkeep of the campus. So many of those expenses, we would all understand, are really beyond the control of management. Our utility costs, we actually are insured on the private market. The state does not insure us. You provide funds for security or for an SRO. They are not provided under a grant program or whatever. So the commissioners shoulder all those expenses directly. County employees, of which there are 8 now, there were a number more than that, but they're all members of the state employees retirement system. And when we give raises each year, or the back end cost of insurance or whatever goes up, the county is obligated to pay that. Let me see. This would be, I think, the 3rd fiscal year at this same amount of money for current expense. Each year, and Kelly will document the increases from last year to this year for current expense. The only way in the world we have been able to address these is actually to reduce county paid staffing over the years and carve out from that money that we need to pay for the increases. We can probably do that again this year, but this is to advise you respectfully that we're getting close to the end of that runway. So as we go forward from here, I think our conversations are probably a little bit more excited. We will be bidding the Health Sciences building on Thursday of this week. So I'm certainly encouraged by the bid amounts that you're seeing. That building will cost approximately about $160,000 to $170,000 more a year in order to maintain or operate that building. Before we were able to solicit bids for that and go to an architect, we actually had the manager at that time sign a commitment from the commissioner. So that building is expected to come online in the middle of next fiscal year. So you would anticipate at least half a year of that request, in addition to other expense increases in the next budget. I want to thank you. Last year, you began with 1/2 cent allocation to capital outlay. We've never enjoyed a steady stream of capital outlay before. So to this board and to the leadership of this board, to the manager's recommendation to continue that practice, thank you. I think it's going to be around $370,000 this year. That's wonderful. Last, before Kelly goes through some of the detail, when you ride by our campus, envision that you do have another building and you've got additional parking lots. The original campus was about 56 acres. When Highway 24 came through, some of those disappeared out front, and we used that money to put that elaborate sign in the front. But we're probably down to 51-ish acres. You do not have, and the trustees have been advised of this, you do not have enough campus to move forward over the next 10 to 20 years. I don't know, we have met with the owners of the property behind us. It is my understanding they are not contracted, or they don't have a secure understanding of what their purposes of that will be. I think it's a particularly important time, not necessarily in the next month, but over the next period of time, that we either secure some type of understanding with them, a purchase, or some type of extended contract. I would hate to see us continue to build and then note that we have lost the ability to expand the campus at that point in time. Just to give you one other comparative before I release this to Kelly, we use James Sprunt as our metric often to look at our funding, to look at our enrollment or whatever. And Kelly, I'm mimicking some of your numbers. Sprunt, I think in 25-26 was receiving $2,210,228 in current expense. They also received $50,000 as a special allocation to what they call the Duplin County Promise. It's different than our promise that our foundation provides for. Their county schools also provide textbook costs for CCP students or whatever. They are decidedly advantaged both on a student basis and in terms of plant operations with their budget than we are here. We are a larger school with a larger campus with a good bit more enrollment. We are doing the very best we can. I think our staff has been remarkable in the terms of their efficiencies and their cost-saving measures. And we thank you. We certainly understand the challenges that have been facing the commissioners, but this is one of those conversations that we need to have and say, we're at a point where there's going to have to be some additional understandings on the operation of the campus. Kelly, you want to run through, let's just run through the current expense very quickly.
Yes, I'm not going to do it line by line, but I will. Last year, we did request a $336,000 increase. And this year, we need $429,000 because that continues to be deferred. And like he said, they're not discretionary expenses. They're not anything we can go in and reduce or eliminate because we have more, as far as K-12 versus us, we are more restricted in what has to come out of county versus state. County can only be used for operational needs. We cannot use state funds for any of that. So there are more laws in place for community colleges than there are public schools in that manner. But all of our increases are insurance premium. Salaries we have in 3%, which we know right now the state is proposing 3% for community colleges with an additional bonus. We don't have the bonus in there. The benefits, they're fixed, they increase every year. The service contracts are increasing. We have our school resource officer, which is increasing again because they changed their pay charts, and we have to pay more for our school resource officer. Electricity, as we know, continues to jump sky high. Fuel, gas, and our required facility repairs and equipment. So if you look at those pages, those are immediate needs. They're necessary. That's not all the needs, that's just the immediate, like the sewer lift station, that has to be replaced this year. So those are things that we have to do. And then, like you said, we have 8 full-time. I look back 20 years ago, we had 11 full-time paid out of county funds for a number of years, and we've continued to decrease that, so we're down to 8. And in the past 20 years, I know y'all all know, we have extremely expanded campus. So to go from 11 to 8 and to have to maintain that campus has been hard. We're stretched very thin. We have 4 part-time employees, but we're limited on that because of funding too. So those are the highlights.
If you look at the capital budget, and I think if you can approximate, the 1/2 cent or whatever, and let's just project it out over 5 years, and then look at some of the renovation and repair requirements that Kelly has documented in the capital list, I think you'll find that we actually don't anticipate that revenue stream will be sufficient to just meet the obligations that we think are coming due on the existing campus. We have very little identified there for what we call the truck driving campus, the additional 41 acres there. Just as a reminder, that's an extremely important part of our economic development assistance with heavy equipment and truck driving. And now it's going to be fire training and some other programs which are coming online. So we encourage you to take some time to go through this. As I said, we will make it this year, but as Kelly mentioned, the 3%, as we do each year, the employee raises that we give for state employees, the trustees have always supported and encouraged us to give equal or better to some of our most vulnerable employees, that are those that are paid out of county funds. So when you do not receive an increase, the only way in the world we can find those funds is either decrease the number of people or cannibalize another portion of the current expense budget.
Yep.
And you can only do that so long before you end up in a position where you simply have to have more money and change your scope of services.
Okay. I do understand.
And Dr. Starlin, I would like to mention, don't forget, we can prioritize a couple of your immediate capital needs through that capital reserve line item too that we spoke about. So I'm happy to connect with you on that so we can do that.
Free up some stuff. Any questions?
What's wrong with sewer lift station?
It's original to the Warren Student Center. It serves the whole back of the campus. It is 30 years old, so it's got to be pulled out and new pumped in. apparatus and everything placed back in.
But it's currently operating.
It's currently operating, but
Our director of facilities is in there quite frequently.
yeah, if it goes out, we lose the early college, Warren, Welding, the other facilities in the back of the campus. And, you know, you don't know how long it would take to respond, so what we would like to do, let's go ahead and address it so we know, because it's already, it's iffy.
Is that your most urgent capital need?
In
That and the roof.
that, and, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the lift station is immediate upon adoption of a budget.
Just to know, Dr. Stalin, have you ever checked to see how much area is behind the school, if it ever?
I wish Lisa Turlington was here. It's more than we could entertain. We've actually had direct conversations, and you know, the trustees can add to this. Where's Dr. Visor? I think he was involved in this directly.
Yeah.
Dr. Visor, I remember they priced it to us by the square foot. Yes, and that's when we knew we were dealing with a different type of negotiation.
Yeah. That's unusual.
So I don't want to represent to you that that's just a matter of coming up with an amount of money and making an offer. It's going to be a negotiation, and I think it's going to require the commissioners to, you know, to voice their support, and collectively us probably with the foundation, the college, and the commissioners or whatever to find money to contract that parcel. Again, we do not have an immediate need for it.
Right.
But I'm telling you that 10 years from now, when there may be other people sitting here, they're going to want to know why we let that opportunity slip away.
I like the contingency part of it. That's something that we're pushing very strongly. I think they've heard it too. I mean, we can't do things for you guys if we don't anticipate some things.
That's right.
That's just what we have to do.
That's right.
Looks like we need a boiler program in the county between the two school systems.
Yeah.
I was sitting there counting boilers. And they are not cheap.
We prepare them as many times as we can.
I would like to know if our trustees would like, you know, chair, vice chair.
As always, we appreciate all that you do, but with this new building, the increase is definitely going to be there, and just maintaining what we've got is going to be even more expensive, but thank you. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And to go back to where we began, we are your partner. So use us and reach out to us.
That's the thing I think we need to kind of widen our scope a little bit to look at what may be coming down the pipe in the next several years. And I hope the county grows, and we want the county to grow in the right direction. And we definitely need the school systems, all school systems on board with what's going to happen to the county in the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to change, I think. All right, any further questions?
Now, when the county have affairs at the school, do we have to pay a surcharge for like corporate extension and the ag business?
No, there were no charge to, if the county government or someone wants to park, like Ag Extension was a partner with us that day. So those expenses, we incurred a number of expenses on our part, but that was just part of providing I think an important event for Sampson County.
It's very good.
I think it was great department.
Yes, it did very well.
Agency.
Heard a lot of positive comments
Yes,
on
a lot
that.
of positive.
Also, I want to congratulate you guys for the network and the fire tower at the new complex. I understand it was kind of between the welding shop and fire services making use of the asset. We appreciate that, thinking outside the box, and I've heard a lot of positive comments about fire service about
Right. They'll be able to train within the county and not have to leave Sampson County.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. That's it. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'll give us my girl now.
Take a
Sit
break.
down, Mr.
Put it
Kirkland.
in. We're gonna
Hey, Jerry,
Yeah, JJ, come on up.
Most of us.
because we're ahead of schedule, I'm sorry.
You're up. You want to take a 5-minute break? Let's take a 5-minute break while they're setting up. We're break. We'll turn it over to you, sir. We're off a break. We're back live.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We're ready to go, so we're gonna turn it over to y'all, and y'all, you just do it like you want to for the emergency services. It's on you, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. I guess everybody, well, most everybody knows me, Jerry Cackle. I'm the interim director, Eric Carroll, our EMS division. Cliff with communications, and we're waiting on Beth to come in for GIS. She should be here shortly. I actually came into the budget process after everything had been submitted, and toward the end of this budget year, so probably only had my feet wet about the last 3 or 4 weeks. So it's been a task to try to familiarize myself with B7 budgets, and I'm still learning. But that being said, I also realize my position is temporary, so these fellows and Beth are gonna have to be the one to implement this budget come July 1. So I definitely wanted each one of them here so they could discuss their budgets and answer any questions that you may have. I think collectively, all of us have looked, and I don't think that there is anything in the county manager's recommended budget that would keep us from effectively operating in the next budget year. That being said, I think it would be remiss if I didn't at least briefly discuss a few challenges that we have, and I think the biggest one, and I know Cliff and Eric will probably hit on this a lot, recruitment and retention, particularly in communications and EMS. And while we may be somewhat competitive in our salaries for counties that are a similar size, we're playing and taking the field with counties that are much larger. Johnston County and Hanover and Cumberland, and definitely are not in a position that we can offer a salary like they can. So that continues to be a problem. And then just the repetitive cost associated with repeatedly training individuals that may stay a year and a half or 2 years. That just creates some challenges. Other than that, I think we're just seeing across the board an increased cost in our general operating expense and supplies and equipment. I was going to try to lead off with Beth with GIS, but Cliff, you want to take communications and run with it?
Just to start off with, just to give you a call volume breakdown, we roughly answered 42,000 911 calls last year, around 70,000 administrative calls. That's including animal control, public works after hours for both the city and the county, for the sheriff's office after hours, Clint PD after hours, DSS after hours, anything that rolls over after hours and on weekends and holidays we answer. So that's where almost double administrative calls we're answering than 911 calls. Currently we have 20 full-time telecommunicators, 4 of whom are shift supervisors. We try to keep around 6 to 8 part-time telecommunicators, but with the certification and demand on them now, it's hard to keep part-time help with them working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday jobs already. And we're sending them to EMD, EPD, EFD, which all those classes are 3 and 2A classes. It's hard for them to take off work to do those classes. And we are 24/7 Critical Public Safety Operations Center. We're the only PSAP in the county. Our current administrative structure is myself as the 911 manager, Claire as the assistant 911 manager. With our current administrative structure, it's limited administrative debt for training and quality assurance, CAD administrator, data analysis, and recruitment and retention. It's hard for me and her to do all that, and it being only us two. Comparable agencies typically include a training coordinator, which we had, and the training person that we had there, she left and went back home up north, and then that position got cut in last year's budget. That was one of the 20 or 21 positions that were cut. Quality assurance, compliance officer, administrative support, CAD analyst person. These roles ensure performance, compliance, and retention.
So just to give you a little rundown of last year, these requests are CAD requests, phone requests, and radio requests that me and Clara is the only one that really can do. We don't always have access to the recorder and can release certain stuff from the agency. Last year we fulfilled 5,218 CAD requests from DSS. So anytime that DSS opens an investigation on an adult case or a child case, they call us and want a rundown of how many calls have been to that address. So we done 5,218 for DSS last year. Out of county DSS was right at 800. Our public safety partner agencies like the Sheriff's Office, Clinton PD, anytime they have like a homicide or a chase or anything that's going to go to court, they always get a copy of the CAD report and a copy of the 911 audio. So we answered right at 700 of those last year. DA's office, right at 200, 179 for private attorneys, and then right at 600 for the public. The general public can come in and request a copy of the 911 call and the CAD report as well. So roughly we answered around 7,000 requests for those last year. That and just keeping the CAD up is almost a full-time job by doing that. We roughly average about 18 or 19 of those requests a day. And we get them all through hours. We get them 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on the weekends, holidays, anytime they go out and do an investigation, they're requesting that information. Our most critical need is our 911 training officer. Oversees onboarding and certification, ensures compliance with NEMA and APCO standards, reduces liability and errors, improves employee confidence and performance. Our training challenges, over 98% of hires have no prior experience. Training takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months, sometimes a little bit longer. Just to send those people to get EMD, EPD, EFD. EMD is emergency medical dispatch. EFD is emergency fire dispatch, and EPD is emergency police dispatch. That's our protocols when you call 911, the questions that guide them to help the caller through that call. To go get those and get the 40-hour basic class, it costs us $1,750 per employee. And also a high workload on supervisors without a dedicated trainer puts even a larger load on them. They're having to supervise and the impact of no training officer, inconsistent training quality, increased errors and risk, slower employee development, higher turnover rates, and increased burden on shift supervisors. Any questions so far? So you had 24 telecommunicators?
20.
20. How many total in communications?
So there's 22 personnel right now, including me and Claire as admin.
How many hours do your part-time people put in?
Just depends what their availability is.
Okay.
Depends what they got going on in their other job, and they're working there. The 4 we got that we really can depend on, they're already working a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job,
Right.
and they're not going to put their time every weekend to come in and help us because they got family at home and children at home that they want to spend some time with instead of working all the time. So we're really limited on part-time help, and like I say, it's with the way we're doing things now with the increased certifications and stuff we're doing, it's hard for these people to take off and go get these certifications because these classes are offered only during the week.
Where the classes offered at?
Just depends. Some of them are virtual, some of them, like we host some of them sometime, other agencies host them throughout the state.
One thing we got to look at too, these jobs are very challenging.
They are.
Very, very challenging.
And we'll get in that in a little
Walk in
bit.
and start doing it.
A little bit further down. Quality assurance. Quality assurance is very important. Call review and performance evaluation. Identification of training gaps. Ensures protocol compliance for EMD, EFD, and EPD. It supports accreditation and liability reduction. So to get back into a few numbers, last year, this is how many calls that were actually entered into our CAD system, what we call a call for service. A little over 44,000 were law enforcement calls.
Right at 12,000 were EMS calls. 33,887 fire calls. And 3,144 animal control calls. And just a little over 5,000 of other calls. That's including, like I said earlier, our public works, our admin lines after hours, stuff of that nature, DSS, CPS. We answered just a little over 5,000 of those last year.
So your total calls was how many?
It's right at around 70,000.
What entities do you take administrative calls for after hours?
That roll directly over to us is the county and the city of Clinton. If they call like the town of Newton Grove or the town of Roseboro, usually they have like a recording and says if you need further, call 910-592-1151. And then they call us, and like if, say I'm a resident of the town of Newton Grove, if I'm having problems with my water and it's on the weekend or after hours, I call 1151, and then we have the public works person for the town of Newton Grove that will then get in contact with and say, hey, you need to call this person, they're having a problem with the water.
And we do all that as a courtesy service. We don't charge anything for that.
Yes, sir. Our call volume, so total number of answered calls we answered by actually picking up the phone. Last year was 112,058 total. 69,188 of those were administrative calls, and 42,870 were 911 calls.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you count the number of calls twice? Just like, I guess it was a dumb thing that happened. Last year, I heard shots around my house. Somebody just shoot. And I called, and nobody came. I gave them 30 minutes each time. It couldn't take that long to get to my house. Nobody came. I called from 7 to 9 that morning. Nobody came. Nobody called. Nobody said nothing. So I didn't know what else to do but to keep right on calling.
Yes.
Because the shots was steady coming. They wasn't lighting up. Nobody knew where they come from.
So what we do in that instance is we, when you call back, we notate that in the first call you made. We put in there the call was called back and advise whatever. But we do save that call as a duplicate call because you have called again.
But it would have been much better if somebody had called and said something.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when I called about 10 o'clock after it was over, he said, well, it's duck eating season. What did I know about
Dove season.
Dove or whatever
Dove
that
season.
thing. Now, what did I know about dove season? I had no clue.
Trust
what
me, you're
that
not the only one on duck season. We get a lot of those. Just like we get a lot of calls on New Year's Eve and 4th of July, with shots fired, those people setting fireworks off.
I knew I had never heard all that shit before, and when it started, it just, ooh.
Using duck season, huh?
Yeah.
So, talking about call volume, this year, I don't know if you've seen in the budget where we're asking for, it's called ASAP to PSAP. This is a software that when an alarm company takes if your alarm goes off at your house because somebody's breaking in, it goes directly to that alarm company who you're associated with, and they take that information and all they do is hit a button and it sends it directly to our CAD system. Now, if we were to take an alarm, we actually have to pick up the phone and take that information from that dispatcher from the alarm system. All they do is hit a button, and all we have to do is set that button, and it puts that information directly in the CAD. We never have to pick the phone up. It automatically goes in there. So last year we answered right at a little over 2,200 law enforcement alarms, a little over 300 medical alarms for EMS, and 501 fire alarms for fire. So at times in there, they're very inundated with calls. Friday afternoon, we had a very, very horrific accident on I-40. We had 4 people ejected from a motor vehicle accident, and I think in that time frame, they were answered right at 40 calls reporting that wreck, because it was such a horrific wreck. Friday afternoon, people was on the way to the beach. I think it was 37 or 39 calls I looked at. They answered just for that one call. So if we're trying to answer all those 911 lines, trying to report that wreck, and you got a alarm coming in on admin, that'll take the place of that. They can automatically send that. All we have to do is click a button and it puts the call in the cab.
What's the cost of that system?
I have to look on the sheet. I won't say it was around 30-something thousand.
What line item would that be in?
It's under,
There's a detail.
552000.
yep.
24,000.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was 30,000.
I didn't see that, reason I was asking. Thank you. I see it down there. I got it now. What you called it, what they called it, everything. All right, I'm good.
All right. So, 911 evolves every day. They're coming out with different technologies to try to help telecommunicators. These two here can tell you, I stay on top of technology. I'm all about the technology redundancy. We try to help our people out as best as we can. So the next part is recruitment retention challenges. Difficulty attracting qualified applicants. We have a high turnover rate within the first 1 or 2 years. Loss of investment in training, and then staffing shortages increase stress and burnout of the remaining telecommunicators. Entry-level starting salary comparison. These are the only counties that directly border us. Our starting salary for entry-level telecommunicator is $36,632. Bladen County is $45,624. Cumberland County is $41,704. Duplin County is $36,991. Fayetteville PD is $43,219. Harnett County is $49,177. Johnston is $51,595. And Pender is $49,700. Us and Duplin's kind of, we go back and forth, and pretty much everybody else is around 12% higher than we are on the average. Looking at different people's pay studies they've done, usually a county starting their telecommunicators out or in line with what a detention officer makes for that county. And currently we're 2 pay grades behind a detention officer here.
Now, when you look at salary versus the number of calls or cases that a person have, is there a big difference there? Like Johnson County pay more than we do?
They offer the same services we do. They do the same service. They do EMD, EPD, EFD. They offer the same services we do. They're just a bigger agency that answers more calls, but they have more staffing. They have 9 people a shift in Johnson County. I have 4.
They have more clients than you do?
Ma'am?
Don't they have more clients than you do?
Oh yeah, they have more calls. Their call volume is probably double what ours is.
But they're running 9 and we're running 4.
No. Low pay compared to the job complexity. Telecommunicators perform highly technical and high liability work. Emergency medical dispatch, multi-agency coordination, critical incident management, legal documentation, radio communications, caller interrogation, life safety instructions. Despite this, compensation in many agencies does not reflect stress level, training requirements, responsibility, and shield work demands. Employees often leave for better paying county or city positions, private sector jobs, or less stressful employment with similar pay. The impact of low salary cannot attract certified telecommunicators, competes poorly with surrounding counties, increases reliance on inexperienced hires, loss of trained employees to higher paying agencies or other fields. HR provided me our turnover rate for the last 3 years. In fiscal year 24-25, both full-time and part-time, we lost 25%. I'm sorry, 20%. 23-24 was 40%, 22-23 was 23%, and 21-22 was 38%.
What's the weighted average?
Man,
Weighted average?
30%.
30%. This over how many years again?
4 fiscal years. Any question on that before I go any further?
Do you do a good exit interview? Or is that?
That goes to HR.
In your exit interview, do you find out exactly which counties they go to on average? Johnson County?
No, sir, I haven't done any exit interviews in quite some time. Most of his staff is new, but folks we were losing before was a variety of reasons, but there wasn't one county in particular.
So, since I took over as manager in 2021 at the start, I've only lost 3 people to other agencies. I lost one to Hornet, she eventually come back. And then I had one we hired, he went to Highway Patrol, come back, left me again, and went to Johnson County Sheriff's Office. And trying to think of a little more.
Most of them just determined that's not a good match for them.
They find out, and on further down, a lot of them get in there and they realize that that's not what their cup of tea is. And a lot of it's to deal with stress, a lot of it's to deal with scheduling. You work a rotating shift. We are straight days, straight nights, but you work every other weekend. So if you're going to 8 to 5 Monday through Friday jobs, we're off the weekend, and at night to be home with their families.
Year one, what are the hours of certification, training certification, like basic telecommunicator training, EMD?
So the 40-hour basic class, their 24-hour EMD class, 16 hours EFD class, 16 hours EPD class. And then the DCI modules are 4 hours apiece, and there's 3 of them, so that's 12 hours for DCI. And that's pretty much the certifications they have to have.
Okay. That's year one certifications.
Any other questions?
I was just wondering, through that, since you don't do exit interviews, but it would be helpful to know that the biggest reason that you're having turnover as payers is because, like you said, it's not their cup of tea.
So I mean, I've had some come in there and like, look, I appreciate the opportunity, but just the stress of the job. I can go. I had one good kid. He was fixing to be released out of training last year. He come after taking 2 calls involving a child. One of them did not make it. He came to me, he's like, look, I really thought about this. He said, those 2 calls, it's kind of hit me kind of hard, but he said, I can go be a receptionist kind of deal at a gas company here in Clinton and make $4,000 a year and work 8 to 5 Mondays through Friday. I can't blame him. Any other questions?
I'm good right now.
So a lot of this work with telecommunicators is chronic stress and emotional fatigue. 911 telecommunicators are exposed to high acuity incidents daily: child death, suicides, domestic violence, officer emergencies. When I first started here in 2006, it was very, very rare. I mean, I think the last one officer involved shooting we had before I started was with the sheriff's office, and that was the first one since I think the officer had been shot. Since I've been in management, we've had 3 officer involved shootings in this county. Back then you never think it would happen here. Just like we always think a school situation can't happen here. It's just a matter of time. So they deal with this daily. With this chronic stress and emotional fatigue. Chronic stress and emotional fatigue continue. Unlike field responders, telecommunicators often experience these events without closure because they do not physically see the outcome. Over time, this contributes to compassion fatigue, secondary traumatic stress, burnout, anxiety, and depression. Many employees eventually determine the emotional cost outweighs the career benefits. Training stress and unrealistic expectations. 911 training programs are extremely demanding. New hires must learn CAD systems, radio procedures, geography of the county, law, fire, and EMS protocols, EMD, EFD, and EPD systems, multitasking under pressure. Many trainees feel they are overwhelmed, especially if training is inconsistent, CTOs are not properly prepared, and feedback is overly negative. Some employees resign during the training because they feel they cannot succeed. Shift work and family impact. Most PSAPs operate 24/7 with rotating shifts, nights, weekends, holidays, forced call-ins, and on-call. This affects sleep patterns, family relationships, child care, physical health, social life. Over time, many employees seek careers with more predictable schedules. Public misunderstanding of the profession. Telecommunicators are often overlooked despite being the first responders. Employees can become discouraged when the profession lacks recognition. The public minimizes the job. Other responders dismiss communications personnel. Their contributions are invisible. Recognition and inclusion matter significantly for morale. In the last year or so, out of my pocket, I had started, you've probably seen some of them on social media, where I gave out some years of service awards. I've done that directly out of my pocket because of the morale, trying to boost morale and try to recruit and retain people. When I do stuff like that, they feel like they are being recognized. It feels like, they are, being looked at. They're not just being shoved in a room and being forgot about. So I started doing that this past year. We've always if a telecommunicator provides childbirth instructions over the phone, we always give them a stork pin and a certificate because they help deliver that child over the phone. And also if we perform CPR over the phone and that patient, EMS gets there, we get that patient back and they're discharged successfully out of the emergency room, we give them a lifesaver pin award. We've always done that, but I just felt like I needed to do more. So like I said, last year we started doing years of service awards at increments every 5 years. Benefits gap. What we're seeing with other counties, no longevity pay, limited retirement incentives, limited recruitment incentives. The result is not competitive in hiring market and reduced employee retention. Financial impact of turnover. Like I said earlier, $1,750 certifications cost for an employee, 4 to 6 months of productivity loss because of 5 or 6 months that employee decides this is not their cup of tea. We've lost that 6 months of training and that salary that we paid them, and they're gone. Overtime costs to cover shortages, and then continuous cycle of hiring and training. It's like a revolving door. Recommendations will be reinstate our 911 training officer, explore and implement retention incentives, which we are, conduct salary and adjustment study for 911, which I provided some of that information for y'all, and establish a quality assurance position. Return investment on all this will be improved employee retention, reduced training costs, enhanced public safety outcomes, lower liability risk, and more efficient operations. In closing, investing in 911 is investing in public safety. Sampson County must remain competitive to recruit, train, and retain the professionals who serve our community 24/7.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, very good. Covered all the stuff, I appreciate it.
So next up, we've got Ms. Beth with our GIS.
Okay.
We'll take the lead and I'll just clarify anything.
No, I'm gonna let you run with it.
Okay.
And you don't have to be as long-winded as.
Okay. So it's gonna be short but sweet. I actually, it's my first time doing this, so I'm sure we're gonna fill it out.
I think Beth is going to be similar to emergency management. We're relatively small. We only have 5 in emergency management. We only have 3 employees on the Beth side of the house. There is really nothing earth-shattering or anything that has changed dramatically in our budget from year to year.
3 full-time employees.
We have 2 right now, and we just hired a third who's gonna start on June 1st.
Well, let me jump in just a moment because Beth is relatively new as well.
Right.
So she's doing a great job. We're happy to have her on board with us as well.
Thank you.
Where did you come from?
I actually came from UNCW. North Carolina Sea Grant, split up.
Came from where?
UNCW and North Carolina Sea Grant.
Okay.
Just want to go down all these, everything on this list and.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay.
Well, not necessarily. I don't think.
No, I think
I think it's pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward. The only thing that wasn't on here, well, the one thing is the $25,000 for the GIS contract services, and I did want to clarify what all of that was to be used for. Was that to be used with Withers? I didn't write this budget myself. I'm just, that this took place prior to me taking on control, so I'm just here to justify this. But the $25,000 for the contract services, was that to be used with Withers, Ravenel?
That's for Withers Ravenel or any other outside contracted type
Okay.
person that would be able to assist with the new EPL.
Okay. I think that's a reasonable amount.
And that's also to help with implementing that Tyler.
Yeah, the EPL, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, then that's reasonable. And then the only other thing that we had discussed, that's not on this list, was the $1,560 for the ESRI credits, which is to store all of the applications and the maps that we use. And then the $19,500 for the ArcGIS licenses, and I was told they were on another budget.
Yeah, they were moved out of the GIS budget into the finance data processing budget for better tracking of things that were kind of countywide.
I got you.
Okay, yeah, and all of those are fine.
So in 2025, her department assigned over 200 new addresses and mapped over 4,000 parcels. They maintained a public-facing GIS partial data viewer with over 50,000 parcels. That's used by citizens, attorneys, and realtors that they can easily locate property records. They also maintain a hurricane response application where emergency service and other county employees can document road closures, down trees, and of course all that's mapped and tracked through EOC applications. She implemented updated imagery for the dispatch computers in the 911 center. I think you said that imagery was from 2013. So, and then they corrected over 700 addresses in the GIS database that were incorrect, and that definitely has an impact on 911. And they're constantly, I guess your biggest interaction would be probably the tax department.
I talk to them every day.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? You're good? Simple, I like it.
Yeah. Short and sweet.
And I'm gonna follow right in, and again, I'm gonna keep this simple with emergency management, so we have a staff of 5. We have 1 administrative assistant, the emergency management coordinator, 2 in the fire marshal's office, and then the director's position. So, primarily charged with fire inspections, fire investigations on the fire marshal side, and then on the emergency management function, Mr. Dawson McClam is our emergency management coordinator. I did want to kind of hit a couple of milestones that we were able to finish this year. And one that I thought was interesting, because I actually applied for this grant after Hurricane Matthew, shortly after 2016, and we have finally completed those projects this year. And one is the backup generator at Lakewood High School and the backup generator at Hopton Middle School. So those will be very well received if we have to open those up as a shelter. Dawson's in the process of completing the, wrapping up the rewrite of the Sampson Duplin hazard mitigation plan.
You do realize that Lakewood's on an island, but we're good. There's a river, there's a big one on both sides.
Yep.
I'm just picking, but go ahead, yeah.
That's not the biggest problem. With that being a shelter, it comes down to the sewer system.
Yep.
Because I've already been in the issue there too.
I ain't thinking about that.
Yep.
We both of us need to look at
So-
it, yeah. I'm glad we got the grant, don't get me wrong, but yeah.
So it's one of the issues, that generator at Lakewood runs everything. When I say everything, it runs everything, with the exception of the lift stations. And it was just not cost effective with what they would have to run the lift station. So I think Josh and Prentice and Dawson have gamed this out and actually have a plan for, we've got a generator at the building that they will actually go and deploy and put out there to run the lift station.
Okay.
It was much cheaper than coming off of that.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Thank you.
And then I think one of the other things that we don't talk about a whole lot, but, and Josh and Dawson have both worked on this, is I know that we're looking at it before I retired for years, trying to get the amateur radio crowd really involved in getting that started. And they've really formed some good partnerships and worked with the school system on pre-deploying some antennas and getting things set up not only at our office but some of the shelter sites. So that program has really taken off and should be useful if we hopefully never have to set up another shelter, but if we do. And if anybody has any questions on the emergency management side, I will certainly do my best to answer.
I don't have any questions, I just have a comment. I know Cliff and some of these people come out and work special events. I don't think a lot of people in the county realize it's not a 8 to 5 job, and there is a lot of on-call stuff. I think we have one of the premier drone programs in emergency services in the southeastern part of the state. Our EM guys have been very effective in finding lost people, locating suspects, and I know it kicks into overtime sometimes. It can be a pinch to us, but it's money well spent in some of the services they have provided in terms of those lives saved and shortening the amount of people we've had to have out of the scenes.
And kind of to that, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago, we had 4 boaters lost on, stranded on Black River one Thursday night in Ivanhoe. They ended up spending the night, all night Thursday night. The call came in early Friday. And I'll be the first one to tell you, before my retirement, when they first started talking about the drones, I was skeptical. Skeptical. But to give you some perspective, when Prentice arrived, put the drone in the air, he was able to find those individuals on the river, I believe it was in 3 or 4 minutes. So 3 or 4 minutes to find them, pin their location, and then direct people in to rescue them. At the end of the day, if we'd actually had to send people in on foot, there's no telling how long it would have taken or how many people it would have involved. So they have taken that program a long way.
To let you know, it's the same way on the ag side. When we started using the drones on, I was like, this is the biggest bunch of poo I've ever seen. But the more we got into it, and we use them daily now because we got guys that are paying pastures and small growers that depend on them. They really do. I think they got a very good fit.
So I think last on our agenda is Mr. Harris.
Let me say this before we move on. I just want to say that I know what y'all do is not easy. It's hard work. You got to have a love for it. If the love is not there, you can't do it. But we know that the love is there. And like he was saying, half of the people in this county don't have a clue what's going on or what it takes to get the job done. So they had a little bit of experience like me and Pope, Mr. Pope, who else? Somebody. We worked in the county, we know. You know, it's not an 8 to 5 job, no job in here is 8 to 5. You're working all day and all night, or your mind is running all night, even if you're home. So it's hard, and we have to stick to it if we want to help take care of our families, provide. You know, and that's what I'm seeing going on now. The younger people don't want to do what we did. And we had to do it. We had to stick to it. We didn't want to do it either. Lord knows I did. That social services was a killer. It was so much work, so much stress, but you had to do it. And I know y'all's job is the same way. Every job in here is hard. It's not easy. And I just wish they would think about what they're giving up, what they're losing. Because when you travel from job to job, you're losing a lot. You're losing your health insurance, your time in, because other counties don't look at it that way. And stay where you are, that's what I would tell everybody. Stay where you are, because if you go on the other side, it's probably worse than what you got over here. That's the message out there for everybody. I had it for myself and I kept it. I stuck with it. You got to stick with it.
All right. I'm gonna start off real quick and just run down 2 or 3 cost-saving initiatives that we have implemented within the last year and that have saved us some money. We think a couple of them will continue to save some money. We were fortunate enough last year, the ambulances that you all provided us, the funds for the ambulances that you provided us in the budget, we were able to identify one truck that we were able to remount. Instead of purchasing brand new, we were able to send that truck off. They would take the body off, redo the body, put it on a new chassis, and that ultimately saved us around $100,000. A lot of our trucks, most times the manufacturers don't like to remount them more than twice, especially if the box is over 20 years old. And so sometimes year to year to year, it's kind of hard for us to be able to determine a year out if we will have one that we can remount or not. I do know that in our budget for next year, we do have 2 new ambulances in there, but that is obviously definitely something that we will continue to look at if we can identify a truck that we can remount. That's obviously what we would try to do. Another initiative that we started purchasing our oxygen in the larger H-size cylinders, and we are refilling our own smaller cylinders. That is going to save us significantly. We think that we're going to have a savings of around $25,000, you know, in a year's time just by us doing that. We had a little bit of upfront cost with purchasing our bottles, but they're still bottles, so they'll last us several years. We do need to and want to at some point purchase a few more bottles just to have some extra on hand in the event of hurricanes and disasters. A lot of times people lose power. We may end up having to give out O2 bottles to residents that may be on home oxygen generators. Now they're without power and they have no oxygen generator working, so we may take them a bottles. So we want to beef up our supply a little bit there.
All the bottles steel, or can you get aluminum? Is there a difference there?
You can get aluminum. However, with aluminum, there is, and I don't know the years, but I think it's like, is it 5 years or 10 years on the aluminum bottle? I'll have to test it. Yeah, aluminum, it don't last as long as steel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steel's 15, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But anyhow, that's an initiative that it seems to be going relatively good for us. A little bit more work on our supervisors having to fill the bottles, but it's an initiative that's going relatively well that we think we're going to continue saving money on.
Good.
This past year, we were able to work with our vendor and were able to purchase 3 refurbished stretchers. He assured us before we got them that, they looked like brand new stretchers, working like brand new stretchers, and we were able to purchase 3 refurbished stretchers from them and saved around $40,000. So far, those stretchers are working fine for us. They brought them in, and I guess if you look real close, you might tell that it's not brand spanking new, but they're working great for us. So we're able to save about $40,000 on that. We did last year secure a grant in the amount of $25,000 for 10 AEDs for our sheriff's department cars. I've already been in talks with the American Heart Association, and we're going to apply this year again for the grant. I won't be able to do so until after June, but feel pretty positive about that as well. Feel like we can apply for 10 more AEDs, and hopefully we'll receive those. And feel in just a phone conversation or in email conversations I've had with them, I feel pretty confident about it. Obviously that's not a done deal yet. We're not done it yet, but that is something that we will be doing next month.
Good.
Do all the fire departments have at least one AED?
Yes, and most of them have 2.
Most of them have. So our network community is coming together on that pretty good with the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Is Clinton PD pursuing any of that?
I don't know about Clinton PD. To my knowledge, they don't have any in their patrol cars. I know the Clinton Fire Department does. They got them on their engine. PD, I don't. If they have any, I don't think they do.
I don't think so.
To my knowledge.
I don't think Highway Patrol has any in the county.
I know some troopers have them, but I've not heard of any of our troopers have them.
That requires training when you do those too, so I don't know where they're at on that.
Yeah, but that is something that, we're going to continue to work with, is getting AEDs in our sheriff cars, because they're out, riding the roads. A lot of times,
Their first one there?
we get a cardiac arrest and they give that sheriff deputy, a lot of times he may be in that area and can be the first one there. And obviously, the quicker we can get someone in cardiac arrest defibrillated, a lot greater their chances of survival are. Our average call time, total call time from time of dispatch until the time they clear the hospital is continuing to creep up a little bit. And this is averaged in all calls, not just transports, but calls that we end up getting refusal on, something of that nature. Our lowest truck is our Clinton trucks, and it's about 58 minutes and something from the time of dispatch to the time they're able to clear. Our highest truck is the Harold's truck, obviously, because of distance and so forth. But they are about 77 minutes on their total call time. And that's just the time they receive a 911 call, get the patient transported and cleared to the hospital. That don't include time afterwards of completing the patient care report. Our average ER time this year did drop a little bit. Our hospitals are doing better, not just Central Regional Hospital, all around. Our average ER time did drop to just a little bit under 36 minutes is the average wait time that we historically wait in our ERs, and that's on average. It's not near as bad as it was a year or two ago, not too long after COVID, but a year or two ago, it was pretty significant. Our average response time has decreased this year again. We've actually been able to decrease it for the last 2 years. It's around 12 minutes and 30 seconds, 33 seconds.
So your response time, clear average call time, you monitor both of them. You said 77 minutes on the you're cleared out of the hospital.
That's on our longest truck.
Yeah.
That's on the longest truck.
That means the call comes in, the ambulance gets there and carries the individual to the hospital. And does the ambulance stay at the hospital
Yes, until they were able to turn that patient over to the hospital when they get her truck cleaned up and go back in service and ready for the next call.
The average response time is 12 minutes, 30 seconds.
Correct. From the time the 911 center receives the call to the time we can get a ambulance on the scene.
You said from the time, say if I call, the time I call to the time you get them to the hospital is 12 minutes?
No, ma'am. That's
To your house.
time till we get to the scene, to the patient.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Our call volume keeps going up annually. This past year, we ran 11,203 calls, which is up 303 calls from the 2024 year.
How many ambulances?
7.
7.
Yes, sir. And we do have a quick response vehicle in Harold's, which has just got one paramedic on that, not Harold's, I'm sorry, Clinic, which has just got one paramedic on that quick response vehicle. Our call volume between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., it keeps increasing every year. This past year, the hours between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., we ran a total of 2,283 calls. So that's a trend that we've been seeing increase over the last 10 years plus. Of course, and that's associated with our total call volume increasing, for the last 10 years plus. Some of our future critical needs that I feel is, and this is not reflective into this budget here, we're trying to maintain the previous instructions of our budget and maintaining what we've had in last year. But I feel we're going to need to seriously look at adding an additional EMS unit on to help with the response time. Our call volumes keep increasing. Call volume during the nighttime keeps increasing, which is directly could result in employee fatigue, leading to mistakes made of employees. It's not obviously not every night, but it's not uncommon for an employee to be up a significant amount of the night, especially on our Clinton trucks and our Roseburg truck, and even you take our Harris truck. If they get a call at midnight, it's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning before they're completely through with everything, their call report and everything, and they're back down. In 2025, there were 62 times that we had no units available to respond to calls.
How many times?
62. And again, just as Cliff alluded to, our pay with the recruitment and retention, a couple years ago, we were able to implement a career ladder, which I feel has helped out some. But our recruitment over the last year, we've been short-staffed for the last year at least. A lot of the problem is some of our surrounding counties, they're larger counties, they're able to pay more. The only county surrounding us that pays less than what we do for paramedic pay is Duplin. Johnston County, and I understand we can't compete with Johnston, but Johnston County's paying almost $10 more per hour for a paramedic than what we're paying. So a lot of these new, and paramedic shortage is not something that's just unique to Sampson County. I mean, it's unique to almost every county in the state. But that is going to be, is currently and will be ongoing, I think.
What's your staff right now?
Our total staffing is 53 personnel, 3 of which are admin, myself, our assistant chief, and our training officer. I'm currently 2 positions short right now. I thought I had those 2 positions filled starting May 27th. However, I got an email this morning from one of them that has now decided instead of taking full-time, they just want to take part-time. So I'm still 1 position short.
Now, if you were to add another unit that you were talking about, you may need in a year or two because of the increase in call volumes. One unit has, how many employees does one unit create? How many? Because you got the shifts.
If we were to do it as a 24-hour truck, you're looking at 6 personnel. If we were to do it as a peak hour truck, which is something that I think we may start with. Obviously, when it gets closer to that time, we'll have to look at the numbers and crunch them a little bit better. But as a peak hour truck, you're looking at 4 personnel. Peak hour truck would work a 12-hour shift, and they would come on, we would look at our time frame during the daytime, they would probably come on at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning and work to 10 p.m. at night. A lot of agencies do run peak hour trucks, and then they back off, because obviously, throughout the middle of the night, our call volume is a lot less. That peak hour truck will help us in our visual part of the daytime.
Just for clarity, one 24-hour truck equals 6 full-time employees?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the peak hour would be 12-hour, just working 12-hour shifts would be 4 employees.
I was going to say 7 because you might have at least one for the vacation and everything else.
Part-time person.
Well, and that's what, currently, obviously we have people that's vacation, sick. Currently, right now, I've got one employee out on workers' comp. He's actually working light duty, which don't necessarily help me on the ambulance. And I've got 2 out on FMLA right now. And the end of May, I've got 2 employees that's retiring. It's when you think you're getting one step ahead, you fall 2 back, I think.
How we compare to Bladen County?
Bladen County runs the Cape Fear Valley Hospital.
That's what I was thinking. They run Cape Fear Valley. Bladen County runs Cape Fear Valley. So that's 2. They run their 2 systems out
And
there.
I'm pretty confident Bladen County manages and runs Bladen County EMS. Cape Fear Valley is just a hospital.
Doesn't Cape Fear Valley run the EMS down in Bladen County?
I don't think they do in Bladen.
Just
unless
Cumberland County.
it's just Cumberland. Unless something's just changed in Bladen within the last year or so.
I'm just thinking that because the hospital in Elizabethtown is Cape Fear Valley.
Yeah, the hospital, they do on the hospital, and, but I'm pretty confident it's the county, Bladen County still owns and manages, runs the EMS service. Same way in Harnett County, and the Harnett County, like they own Bessie Johnson Health, however, Harnett County manages and runs the EMS service.
Okay.
Yep.
But we're competitive versus Bladen County.
Bladen, I think, on an hourly rate, and I don't have that figure with me, they were right around $2 more per hour than what we were. Bladen and Wayne County were about $2 more per hour than what we were. Harnett County, I think, was around $6 more per hour, and Johnston's about $10 more per hour, just a little bit shy of $10 more per hour. As far as our budget, for the most part, everything's pretty much daily operational needs. There are 2 ounces in the budget, and again, that's something that when it gets time, when we look and see, what we're going to be able to do, we will look to see if there's an ambulance that we can remount. I don't know that right at the moment, but that is something that we would definitely look at. The additional departmental supplies and equipment, we've got an AD/cardiac monitor trainers for right at $19,000. What they are computer interactive AD and our LifePak 35 cardiac monitor trainers, where they'll pull it up on an iPad screen and it'll look exactly like our cardiac monitor or an AED. We can put certain rhythms on there and have the employee go through it and treat it just like it's a real live monitor. I'm kind of excited about, if we could get it, especially the AED one, because that's something that we can take around and to our fire department agencies and the sheriff's office and
allow them some, obviously not real time, but, you know, some good scenario-based training, and be able to mash the button on the computer screen and see the rhythm change and so forth. We do have a child mannequin in our budget right at $15,000. We were able to, 2 years ago, secured an adult mannequin. A lot of our mannequins just have a significant amount of age on them and just wear and tear. This child mannequin, we've got that in the budget. I've got in the budget to replace 2 portable 800 radios, and got in the budget to replace 14 armor plates for our bulletproof vests that we have on our ambulances.
Who you decide to do it on bulletproof vests?
Anytime we get dispatched to a shooting call or something of that nature, or, I mean, it could be something, you know, riot or standoff or anything of that nature.
Is that documented in the procedure that you have to have a bulletproof vest, or is it just the employee decides that?
The employee can decide when they need to wear it and so forth. And, you know, obviously, we're not going to go to a scene like that until law enforcement is on the scene and tells us that it's secure. The problem with that is that, you know, if the shooter's not there, not in custody, is he going to come back?
That's right.
You know, I mean, you know, if law enforcement's there and they got the shooter in custody, okay, probably a little bit more secure, but even though they're there and the shooter's not on scene at this time, are they going to drive back by, you know, and do a drive-by shooting? And which, I mean, we've had drive-by shootings. We've got three of those vests on each of our trucks, and the reason we have 3 is sometimes if we are training a new employee, obviously we could potentially have 3 employees on the truck, and we do a lot of ride-alongs, or not necessarily ride-alongs, but clinical time with our community college partners, where they send students to us and we train students and they ride with us, and so we'll have one on the truck for the students as well.
That's good.
Yep. Any questions?
I think the only, and Eric and I had talked about this, we did want to mention, especially on the EMS budget, one thing that was not in our budget, that we did not put in there, would be any kind of furniture or appliances for the new Roseburg substation, depending on when it comes online. So if that's before the 28th budget, that would definitely be something we'd have to look at.
Program wise, I know last year, in budget talks, we had talked about EMS implementing blood. Has any progress been made with that, or is it still in the?
We had put it in our budget this year, but I think the manager taking it out for right now. However, I have had some talks with him, and I think we're going to maybe approach the hospital again and see about the possibility of. We approached hospital before, and, you know, for whatever reason, we've not been able to get it worked out where we can get blood from the hospital. But I think the county manager, he's going to help us approach them again and see if there is anything that we can work out and potentially get that money. But that is something that we feel is a critical need that, you know, is on the horizon. A lot of EMS agencies, obviously not every EMS agency, but a lot of EMS agencies are pushing, you know, to get blood on. The quicker we can get that trauma patient, whether it be from a motor vehicle accident, shot victim, or whatever, the quicker we can get blood and blood products in them, the lot greater their chances of survival are.
Great.
And one thing that we were looking at when we start the program, you know, once we secure the funding to start the program, is we would only have it on like 3 trucks right now just because of the cost of it. But put it on the truck down toward the south end, and the truck here, it's Clinton area, and then the truck up in the north end.
Have all the ambulances have been delivered and been ordered?
We've got 3 that's still on order.
What's the turnaround time now?
About 16 to 18 months.
Gentlemen, the commissioners also have the spreadsheets for the tower and the Fund 15 emergency telephone. Is there anything at all you would add about either of those?
Just on the tower, you'll see a significant increase because for some reason the past years, our line item for tower equipment stuff was in the communications budget. And talking to Melissa, we felt like just put everything dealing with tower in the actual tower budget. So Taylor's Bridge and our tower at the 911 facility, that's the budget in the tower.
So good? Good. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all, sir. Thank y'all.
All right. This time I'll turn it back over to Mr. Van for recap and your final remarks, and any other parts you had at the first that you were going to bring to our attention is on you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, you have copies of the presentation, and we also have it up on the screen up there. I really just want to, again, as you said, just recap what we've talked about thus far as the manager's recommended budget. As far as the purpose of today's budget session, we know we've been, talking to the department heads to finish out with that. We want to provide a summary of the key financial data, and then we want to seek input and consensus from the board for guidance on the recommended budget. Moving over, as far as revenue projection summary, you've seen this information before. And I think the key is at the very bottom. It just talks about after the schools are funded with the funding formula, the projected revenues at $1.418 million. The next slide, as far as the general fund expenditures, it does show that last year those expenditures were in excess of $82 million. In this budget, it's in excess of $85 million, which represents a 2.9% increase over last year. Moving to the next slide, there is no property tax increase in the recommended budget. We've talked about that multiple times. Talked about the fact that in terms of education, we're going to fully fund the education formula as adopted by the commissioners last year. And then for the recruitment and retention efforts, we have a 4% COLA proposed, and it is reflected in the department budgets as you've reviewed those sheets with the department heads. And of course, every 1% COLA is estimated to be $356,028. Within this proposal is also 2 additional paid holidays, July 6th and November 25th. Okay, and as far as recruitment and retention efforts, I know this is something, we talked a lot about this with emergency services this evening. I know this is something you're very well aware of, but just to make a couple of points here, that COLAs aren't just an expense, but also a loss prevention strategy for our great staff. We do really have a great group of employees here, and we want to reward them as much as we can as part of that effort in recruitment and retention. The cost of employee turnover typically costs 50 to 150% of an employee's annual salary to recruit, hire, train, and replace those positions. And there's many hidden costs that are difficult to quantify related to efficiency and customer services. So ultimately, you could end up spending considerably more than the cost of the COLA itself. But I think, again, there are, and I know this is something that all of you already realize, but there's certainly a lot of hidden costs that is hard to quantify when you have turnover as far as how it affects customer service to citizens, as well as the efficiency within the department itself. So some of the highlights again are the approximately $200,000 in replacement vehicles and capital outlay. The sheriff's vehicles are funded separately. The net positions added to this budget is 3, which is as a result of this contract conversion to in-house staffing that we've been talking about. The other positions that we've added, we've tried really hard to focus on the board's direction of, hey, instead of continuing to add positions, see what you can to, and I know the preference would be to lessen positions, but in the case of having certain needs, at least we've managed to redirect some of those positions and repurpose in a different fashion to avoid adding additional positions. We've talked about updating the comprehensive land use plan, and we think we can do that for $100,000. We also think that is very important towards preparedness for the growth. I know the chairman has spoken many times about how he thinks, this is going to be a very different county in years to come, and we need to be thinking about that now and get out in front of it. And so this would certainly help us in that effort. The contingency fund we set at $250,000 to handle unforeseen items as well as uncertainty with fuel prices. I spoke to Chief Deputy Smith. He says it's costing them about $20,000 more per month for fuel right now. So that was part of our reasoning for doing what we've done here with the contingencies. Because none of the departments, obviously, at the time at which they turn their budgets in, none of this unsettlement with the war in Iran and everything, none of that had developed at that time. Economic development efforts, we've talked about the fact that we think it's very important to attempt to do something to help in this realm, and to be able to work towards increasing the non-residential tax base. And so we are suggesting that we look at a $5 million investment and the possibility of entering into a 10-year note. The first year's debt service is anticipated to be $772,500. This would allow for a 70,000 square foot shell building in Sampson Southeast Business Center in Clinton, and the early stages of preliminary engineering and design for infrastructure at the Joe Griff Warren Industrial Park in Newton Grove. And this goes back to the information that Ray Jordan, our Economic Development Director, had shared with you in that March 9th meeting we had about the various possibilities at that time as far as the different options with different square footages of the building and so forth. Next, of course, we've proposed elimination of the 2% early pay discount for taxes, which would return $420,000 in revenue to the county. So ultimately, to achieve the items recommended in this budget, it would be $2.38 million being appropriated from the fund balance to be able to help with that budget. I think it's important to share, just like to make the point, this is $772,871 more than the current year's fund balance appropriation. So, and that was about $1.6 million. So just to say that this amount of money is basically equal to what the first year installment for the economic development component would be, if that makes sense. We know that with the fund balance, we've talked about the various unknowns to come in the future. We know that property tax, our largest revenue stream, is under scrutiny, and we know there's different options being looked at with that. We know that's not over with. We know there's uncertainty of the HR 1 impacts, both later this year and in the next few years to come. And then we also know there's an uncertainty of the level of FEMA financial assistance if we were to have a major storm event or other catastrophe. We need to think about all of those things. So commissioners, through this process, these various meetings we've had, you've been provided with department budgets, and of course you've had the meetings with the department heads. You have a complete copy of the manager's recommended budget. We've sent you background and summary information about the reasoning for various items, and we've tried to keep you very informed about all of the various items, edits, changes, additions, anything like that. We've tried to keep you as informed and in the loop as possible with those things. And so basically now we're just asking if there's any items that you as a board would like to add, edit, remove, so forth to the proposed budget. Just ask for any input from the board about those items for discussion.
I want to look at the elimination of the money that you get back, the 2%. That is really putting our constituents in a bad situation. They are used to having that 2%, for paying early. And now that things are going on like they are, it's really needed. It's not something that they would be gonna throw away because they can use it, because the price of gas has increased a lot. I would be willing to accept 1.5% to be considered that they get instead of just losing it all. It's hard to lose everything at one time. And then maybe another year things may be where we can look at it differently. Right now, I just can't see.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Mr. Chairman, is this something, would you be willing to ask for a motion? And
I would rather talk about it a little bit amongst ourselves, see where we're at. Everybody's on the same page. I don't believe Ms. Lee out there on her own. I've heard from several different sides on this, and doing the full 2 kind of was a little bit hard to one point. So I would let personally look at a 1 and a 1.5 if it's not 2. Are y'all with that? Are we okay? Ms. Lee, I don't throw you under the bus. I know you want a 1.5, but at the I run the numbers on my own because it's the only way I can justify looking at stuff, and I can take the same money that I save on taxes and I can invest it and hold it for 6 months or whatever, and I get the same money back at the 2%. It really doesn't gain me anything if I'm a smart budgeter and I use the money ahead. I can gain more by putting it somewhere. That's just me looking at. I want to be as informed as I possibly can to help the citizens out, and help the county too for the direction we're going in.
The other thing I was looking at, Mr. Chairman, was that we would gain, what was it, I lost my page, $420,000 in revenue to put back into the county. What would we buy with $420,000? Things costing millions of dollars now. So I can see that money being more beneficial to our residents instead of to us. I mean, well, to the county, we need it, but I think their needs should come before us.
So Commissioner Lee, that money goes back into the main budget. So for instance, if everything else was approved in this budget, but that 2% was kept and we're not gaining the $420,000, we're either looking at $420,000 more in cuts to keep the same budget that we had, or would be less revenue, so we'd have to spend more in fund balance. So instead of doing 2.3, we'd be going up to 2.7, right at 2.8 and spending fund balance, if they wanted to approve the budget just as it is.
We didn't do that last year, we didn't take nothing. We didn't take anything, so why is it different?
It's just an additional potential revenue source.
I know what she's saying. I would say this. If we go to the 1%, it's helping both. It's helping both.
It's not just taking it.
Yeah.
It's giving us some and giving them some.
I can see that. What you guys think?
I'm at the 1%, then we can look at, then we kind of get a full grasp of what we need to do as we move forward, and that gives everybody an overview.
It'll definitely give us a chance to evaluate the public's perception of it within the next year.
That's
So
right.
whether or not next year we need to reinstate it or do away with it altogether.
I mean, if everybody's perspective is okay, then we know we can ease it away the next year, and we go.
We know which way to go, yeah.
I mean, thinking about what you asked, Commissioner Lee, you know, when you think in terms of these unfunded mandates and the amount of expenses that are continuing to be passed from the federal level and state to the local level. So when you asked what would $420,000 cover, well, for example, this year, we're having to spend an additional $368,000 for DSS after October 1 that we typically have not had to spend.
Right.
So I guess
It
just.
might pay on it.
Yeah.
It would pay on it, but it wouldn't. My thing
And
is.
please know, I completely understand what you're saying and your perspective. But just to answer your question, those are the kinds of things that we continue to get more push to us to have to figure out how we're going to cover it.
Looking at it from both angles.
Yeah.
It would be something for both of us.
So may I ask, are we saying?
I think we need to go 1 on that one. You good with that?
As far as the
I think
consensus?
everybody's consensus is good.
Awesome, thank you.
Y'all good with that for 1? And then we'll move.
I think that's good. We'll get a perspective there.
Yep. Is there anything else you guys want to look at that we're looking at on the budget? Now's your time, gentlemen and ladies.
I can't look at it again. This is the last time.
It's gonna help help the manager and the staff here to have an idea for it. And,
So
let me ask you a question. If I was right in my conversation I had with Mr. Hardison, we're staying with his original budget. We're not adding another position on, correct?
We're not, because he said ultimately he needed that skid steer worse than adding that
So
position.
we're going his original budget, okay.
Yes, sir.
That kind of, so all
Which
departments
is
are where
part
we're
of
at.
that capital outlay number I gave you.
Okay,
I think that was 46,000.
yes.
And it's given him even more issue recently.
Okay, that helps me. You good? You good? I said that's it then. Present it as we got it, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll get everything. Did you have something to say? You like yours? We'll get it together to be able to present in the June 1st board meeting. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you.
If we don't have anything any further, we'll, I guess, take a motion to adjourn. Have you got food or?
I do, but you can adjourn and then eat.
That's fine. Take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. And a second, all in favor? There we go.
I think that was good.